In this section, we're going to continue doing a little bit of root level setup on our project. Inside my components directory, I'm going to make a new file called the searchbar.js file. And as you might guess, the goal of this thing is going to be to show our search bar, which is going to be essentially just that text input at the very top of our application. This is going to end up being a somewhat simplistic component, at least in terms of the JSX that it's going to show. So inside of searchbar.js, I'll do my typical import React from React, and then I'm going to make a class-based component. I know that I need to make a class-based component in this case because I have to use state at some point to handle the user input or the user actually typing into the search bar. Now that might sound like a big leap of faith, but I'll show you very quickly how we're going to handle user input, and as you'll see, in general, it's going to require us to make use of component level state. So I'm going to say class search bar extends react.component. And then inside of here, I'm going to define my render function. I'll put in a return keyword. And for now, I'll do return search bar. And then of course at the bottom, we'll do an export default search bar. And then finally, I want to show this inside of the app component. So I'm going to flip back over to my app.js file. I'm going to import the search bar at the top. And then rather than showing a div with the app text inside there, I'm going to show search bar like so. And then when I save, it's going to automatically reformat the JSX inside of here. Remember, all this has done is turn it into a block of JSX surrounded by parentheses like so. Okay, so I'm now going to flip back over to my browser one time, just make sure that everything is now working. Yep, I see the text search bar. That's definitely good. So I'm now going to go back over to the search bar. We know that we don't want to have the text search bar inside of here. If we go and look at that mockup really quickly, all this thing is really showing to us is a text input. Maybe we will eventually put a label on it and a button next to it, but for right now, we know that we really just need a text input and not much else. So back inside of the search bar, I'm going to replace the text inside there with a little bit of JSX. So I'm still going to have the div, and because I know this is going to be a multi-line statement, I'm going to wrap the div with a set of parentheses. And as usual, don't forget, don't leave that little semicolon at the end of the div. So now inside of here, I'm going to place a form that's going to contain my text input. I'll mark the input as being type text like so. Okay, so I'm going to save this now, and I'm just going to make sure that we now get a text input to appear on the screen. Yep, sure do. And remember, I run my browser really zoomed in, just so you can see what's happening on my screen very easily. So chances are you see something a little bit more like that right there. You should at least see the very faint outline of a text input. All right, so this looks good. Now, the text input by itself definitely is kind of ugly. Before we dive into handling all this event stuff, I want to very quickly do just a touch of styling on this thing to make sure that it looks a little bit better than it does right now. So in the next section, we're going to hook up semantic UI. We'll add in a couple class names just to make sure that our search bar looks pretty reasonable, and then we'll start to worry about adding in some event recognition and handling user input and all that kind of good stuff. So quick pause and a little bit of styling in the next video.